In the beginning of the episode we see. They all head to the garden, but Frasier warns Eftel that he must be careful. Even if this is supposed to be a mock battle, after all, even if he doesn't look like it, Joachim had top marks in sword fighting at school, which means he's very skilled. Before the mock battle begins, Frasier asks Eftel to surrender immediately if he feels he can't win because this could be very dangerous. Eftel agrees without a problem, but deep down, he just thinks this is a pain, and he's got no other choice. Joachim warns him that he had the choice to run away, then throws a wooden sword at him. When Eftel catches it, he immediately notices just how heavy it is. So Joachim explains it is a hardwood sword. They don't usually use them because a heavy blow is enough to shatter bone or cave in a skull if it lands just right. Joachim smiles deviously and tells him that he surely knows what that means. But to his surprise, Eftel has no idea what he's talking about. That makes Joachim lose his patience, so he throws a tantrum and exclaims that both he and his mother are morons. He then explains that he, as the eldest son of the true family, will teach him and his fool of a mother a lesson because nobody likes them. After all, his mother, Iria, has no magical aptitude, and she begged Orchid to let her give birth to him. But he doesn't have any magical aptitude either. Joachim tells Eftel that his mother brought shame to the family, and he'd like to kill her, but he'll settle for killing him instead. Before the battle, Joachim clarifies that he'll give him a handicap as a little favor, so he can be the first to attack. Eftel has remained silent through all of Joachim's provocations, but he can barely contain his rage at the fact that these two jerks are his descendants. He doesn't waste the opportunity and decides to make the first move, attacking Joachim head-on with a hardwood sword. To his surprise, Joachim only barely manages to react since he apparently took him off guard. Eftel continues attacking him, but his moves make Joachim back down as he blocks him with his sword, clearly intimidated. This confuses Eftel a little, so he starts wondering if he really knows how to use a sword or if it was all a lie. After several attempts, Joachim finally manages to properly block one of his moves, and he has the nerve to mock him for that. However, Eftel activates physical ability enhancement, which allows him to overpower him. Joachim panics and tries to stand his ground, wondering if Eftel is really the same kid he was a moment ago. No matter how hard he tries, he can't keep up with such monstrous strength. So Eftel easily breaks through. They easily break through his sword and hit him right in the face, breaking his nose in an instant. While Joachim is on the ground, Eftel warns him that if he ever insults his mother again, he will kill him without a doubt. After that, he goes back to normal and approaches his mother with a smile, saying that they can go now. Even Iria is shocked by what she just saw, so she asks him if he's the Eftel she knows. Eftel assures her he's the same as always, so his mother decides to believe him and smiles back at him. Before leaving, Eftel talks to his father, though Orchid flinches as soon as he looks at him, completely terrified. Eftel simply thanks him for inviting him today, so his father quickly dismisses him and nervously wishes him good luck at military school next year. 2 weeks later, Eftel continues living a peaceful life with his mother, even though he was pretty sure they would try to get back at them somehow. However, that peace suddenly ends one day when Frasier shows up at their doorstep holding a baby. That's when we see what happened earlier in the capital, where Frasier informs his forces that the Holy Knights and the Azul Army have set out to do battle with their neighbors. He explains that while they're gone, it is up to them and the guard to defend the capital. Moria discreetly asks him if they have to bring in kids from military school to protect the city, and Frasier confirms it. After all, there is information that the minister's faction is planning to assassinate the prince while their main forces are away. That information clearly shocks Moria, but before he can say anything, a guard suddenly barges in and exclaims that southern barbarians are attacking the capital. They all hear an explosion just then, so Frasier immediately reacts and orders his forces to get the prince somewhere safe, saying that they must act quickly. After that, he ends up at Iria's house, so he now apologizes to her for startling her and explains that it was all so sudden, and this was the only safe place he could think of. Eftel takes a moment to assess the situation, knowing that since the last king of Azul's second son was more talented than the eldest, the second son became the current king, and the eldest became the crown minister. The second son had no male heirs, and the eldest son's family was almost certain to inherit the throne. However, the current king eventually had a son, and now the minister's line had lost its claim. Despite this, something doesn't click, so Eftel asks his brother how the barbarians got into the capital when he had strengthened its defenses. Fraser tells him that he believes their father is behind this because if the throne changes hands, he'll be the one to benefit the most in terms of status. Status and power. They can't go back to the capital now, so they'll need to cross the border and get the prince to safety with their main army. With that in mind, Fraser and Moria decide to leave with the crown prince when the sun sets, thanking Iria for everything. Just before they leave, Eftel asks them to take him with them, and even though his mother is a little surprised, Moria easily accepts, saying that they need all the help they can get now. Eftel remembers well how the then-king gave them supplies in their battle against the demon king 400 years ago, so he has a duty to protect this country. Iria can't help but let out a few tears, so Eftel apologizes to his mother for making her worry as he leaves their home, knowing that he can't let his father and his men get away with this. The next day, he continues walking with Moria and Fraser, who tells him that they'll head through the Nihil forest and across the Moralis plains, and then they'll be at the border. Eftel can't help but think how strange everything is, though, because there isn't a single animal in the forest, and it's all too quiet. Both Fraser and Moria think the same, and that's when they suddenly hear thunder. They clearly don't know what's going on, but they know that the most foolish thing they can do is stay there, so they decide to leave the woods as fast as they can. After running non-stop for a while, they finally reach the edge of the forest, but Fraser suddenly stops them when he sees an entire army waiting for them. He knew they'd set a trap somewhere, but he wasn't expecting something like this. Moria can't believe what he's seeing because that's the Duke's personal mage division, and Orchid himself is leading them. Just when they think about heading back, Eftel warns them that the path behind them is burning. Fraser then understands that the sound they heard was them setting fire to the forest because they wanted to drive them out. Moria wonders if there's a way to get the prince to safety somehow, but he knows they have nowhere to run right now. Having no other choice, Fraser tells them that he'll go persuade his father to stand down because he's sure he's not that bad of a person. He walks out of the forest with his hands raised, letting his father know he's unarmed and asking him to stop this and resolve things through dialogue. Orchid doesn't say a thing as Fraser speaks, but Fraser insists and tells him that there's still time, so they should forget this ever happened and go back to the capital. Joachim, whose face is still recovering, asks his father what they'll do, but Orchid simply stands up and tells him that his own son is asking to speak to him, so he'll go to him. Fraser is hopeful when he sees his father walking up to him because he knows he's not that bad of a person. That means he's willing to talk, and he must understand what Fraser is saying. However, Orchid tells him that the only thing he understands is that he's in his way. Once he's close enough, he uses a magic device to give Fraser an electric shock, immediately knocking him out. Orchid then laughs and asks his mage division to burn it all, not caring about his son lying on the ground. Moria sees the ritual formation they're using and explains that it's the most powerful spell, bearing the name of one of the legendary 4 emperors, level 6, Eftel. Eftel doesn't even listen to him and immediately runs to save Fraser, but Moria stops him right away, and a great explosion sets everything on fire in a matter of seconds. Fraser is nowhere to be seen now, so Eftel can't believe what his father did to his own son, who was only trying to protect a baby. When he thinks about all the memories with his brother, Eftel can't contain his rage anymore, and even Moria gets worried when he notices how different he seems now. Eftel decides to stop pretending right then and says that he's going to teach them what real magic is. Moria tries to warn him that it's dangerous out there, but Eftel doesn't listen and simply approaches the fire, casting a level 9 spell, Cositis. That spell alone gets rid of the fire by freezing the whole forest and the ground in a second. Even the mage division finds this hard to understand because that's a spell of unbelievable power. Even Orchid has no idea what's going on, so Eftel assumes that in this world, they've never even heard of anyone casting a spell like this on their own. He admits that water magic isn't his specialty, but they couldn't even stop that. That fact angers him even more because he thought he had taught his sons how to use magic and how to fight. Orchid realizes just then that he's Eftel, so he panics and immediately tells his mage division that he is the enemy, so they must show him the terror of a magical division. All the mages follow his orders at once and cast a level 5 spell called Explosion Arrow, releasing a full barrage. Eftel doesn't even bother to move, so Orchid laughs loudly and celebrates his victory, only to see him completely unharmed when the smoke disperses. This clearly disappoints Eftel, who tells them that they couldn't have expected that to hit him. All the mages are terrified to see that he's still alive after that because it was a direct hit. Eftel simply explains that there is such a thing as an always-on magic defense circle, but they really don't know anything. That only irritates him even more, and he wonders just how ignorant they can be. Still not understanding a thing, Orchid gets nervous and asks his magical division to hit him with their strongest attack. The mages have no choice but to follow his orders, so they cast a level 6 spell, Eftel, releasing a focused blast right at him. Eftel doesn't move from his place and simply says that it's insulting to have his name used for something like that. To counter it, he casts a level 7 extra magic, Guard, protecting himself from the impact of the lightning. The entire magic division freezes in fear, unable to believe that this kid just negated a legendary magic spell in an instant. They all see him as a monster now, so Eftel just scoffs, saying that they really are pathetic. In less than a second, he disappears from their sight, moving at lightning speed as he takes down the mages one by one using only his sword. As he attacks them without mercy, Eftel feels glad that his brother Fraser took the time to train him because he actually likes using a sword. He decides to practice empowering his sword with magic, so he casts a level 2 spell called Riot Bomb, infusing his sword with lightning. One of the mages panics and nervously tries to cast a spell to save his life, but Eftel doesn't hesitate for a second and immediately turns him to ashes with his sword. As soon as they all realize what he can do, all the mages stop fighting and decide to run for their lives. Eftel just smiles and asks them if their mother never taught them not to turn their backs during battle. He then tells them that he'll show them one last thing before they die and casts a spell that gathers dark clouds in the sky above them. The mages stop running immediately when they notice that he's controlling the weather because that means he's using lost magic and divine power. Eftel clarifies that those aren't just clouds because his magic is not that boring trash that controls static electricity like theirs. He then reveals that what he controls is lightning itself and casts his own original spell, level 10, Eftel. In a matter of seconds, the whole magic division is wiped out, along with everything else on the battlefield, except Orchid and his son. Eftel protected them with a magical barrier, but even after all of that, Joachim reproaches him for attacking the Duke's mages, saying that he can't get away with that. Eftel ignores him and simply puts him to sleep with a spell, making Orchid feel even more terrified than before. Despite how scared he is, Orchid still gets defensive, but Eftel accuses him of attempting to assassinate the Crown Prince and tells him that it wouldn't make for a good ending if the conspirator died there alongside his men. Orchid threatens him and warns him that if he attacks him, then he's a traitor to the army. However, Eftel doesn't even let him finish and gives him an electric shock, saying that he's not showing any mercy to the kind of scum who would kill his own son. Just like that, the coup attempt ends in failure, and both Orchid and Joachim are publicly executed afterward. Despite everything that happened, Eftel is just glad to see that Fraser is actually alive and well, still recovering from his injuries. When he sees him in the capital, he immediately runs up to him and asks if he's really okay to be up and about already. Fraser greets him and assures him that he's fine, though he admits that he never thought a treasured family necklace would end up saving his life. When Eftel sees the necklace, he quickly recognizes it as Oberon's guard, which used to be his. That old item somehow kept him alive, so Fraser says that he apparently owes the Lightning Emperor his life. Eftel can't help but tear up a little, truly relieved that his brother is alive. Without a doubt, he hugs Fraser, taking him by surprise as he thanks him for being alive. Later, there was talk of stripping Orchid's title after the coup, but because Fraser risked his life to save the crown prince, the peerage remained after the execution, and with Orchid's death, Fraser took over the household. Now that everything has gone back to normal, Eftel decides to show both Fraser and Moria what he can really do with magic. He casts a level 7 spell called Evil Flare, and then another level 7 spell called Chaos Weed. That spell combination manages to split an entire mountain in two, leaving them completely speechless. Fraser can't believe that he cast 2 level 7 spells in a row, and he realizes that this is his little brother's true strength. Eftel apologizes for not telling them before, but Fraser reassures him and tells him that he knows he must have had a good reason. Moria agrees and explains that if Eftel doesn't want to say it, then he doesn't have to, because with this much power, he's sure he has his secrets. Eftel thinks about the goddess and realizes that he definitely can't tell them he was reincarnated. Fortunately, both Moria and Fraser tell him that this will remain a secret between the three of them because it seems best not to use this power in front of others. After all, the whole world would be plunged into chaos if someone witnessed something like this. With that decided, Fraser asks Eftel what he'll do now, and to his surprise, Eftel tells him that he wants to go to magic school. Moria doesn't understand this, especially after seeing how Eftel split an entire mountain in two without any effort. He asks him if he really plans to go to magic school even with that much power, and Eftel confirms it without hesitation. He explains that he wants to get even stronger in a place that is fully equipped for it, and he wants to continue following the path of magic. Fraser admits that he can see Eftel has a strong resolve, so he isn't opposed to the idea. Seeing that he's serious about this decision, Moria decides to accept it and gives him a hard slap on the back, saying that he'll help train him until he turns 15. After all, even if he chooses the path of magic, being skilled with a sword is always a good thing, in his opinion. Eftel tries to ignore the pain from the blow to his back and smiles, thanking Moria for the help because he's going to need it. Just like that, Eftel takes another step forward on the path of magic, planning to become even stronger than he already is. That's it for today. Like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.